Hi, my name's Steve Papoutsis. I'm the executive producer for Dead Space 2. Dead Space 2 picks up 3 years after the original Dead Space. You're playing as Isaac Clarke, an engineer, and he's in an all-new location called the Sprawl. When we started making the original Dead Space, we wanted to make sure that we put out something that people really enjoyed, but we also wanted to make sure that it was a game that we felt really represented what we wanted to do with Dead Space. The team and I are extremely focused on delivering a game that's even better than the original game. And with that being said, there's a lot of pressure from within the team because we're trying to outdo what we did in the previous game. One of the big changes in Dead Space 2 is the fact that we're giving Isaac a voice this time. The idea is that you'll be able to actually relate more to Isaac by hearing kind of what he's thinking and what's going on. And we feel that that's really going to expand our narrative and allow people to really get into the fiction even more than in the original.
I'm going to show you some images and I want you to tell me about them.
One of the new tools that we're really excited about is called the Javelin Gun, which is going to allow people to actually impale enemies to surfaces. And not only can you impale them, but you'll actually be able to electrocute them and set them on fire. Hey, before I go, I just want to say thanks to all the fans that have been supportive of Dead Space. We're really excited about what you guys think when you finally get to see the game. And without you guys, it wouldn't be as cool as it is right now making the game.
Isaac, we're all gonna burn for what we did to you.
This is the latest character announcement for Marvel Vs Capcom 3, and it's Spider-Man. Everyone's favourite web-slinger has been added to this game's already incredible roster, and being as he's probably my favourite superhero, I'm finding it difficult to keep my monocle in with excitement.
Crawler, assault! Having fun yet? Webball! Like web throw! Webball! Ultimate! Web! Gotcha! Whoa! Sorry about that. Web swing! Web swing! You like that? Web swing! That! You like that? Get ready! Maximum spider!
Player one win.
Oh, and whilst we're on the subject of Spider-Man,
Spider-Man?
Wait, how would you eat a mint through that fishbowl?
when Spiderman Shattered Dimensions was announced, my response was one of worry and excitement. On one hand, the last movie tie was shit, and this one was being made by a company whose previous experience consisted of iPhone games. But on the other hand, it's Spider-Man, and it's not a movie tie-in, so it might have a chance of being half decent. Now, having finally got my hands on it, I can confirm that I needn't have worried. Spider-Man, whilst on the trail of Mysterio, accidentally smashes a magical tablet, not the most intelligent action of a scientist, which shatters across numerous dimensions, meaning different Spider-Men have to track down the shards and bring them back together, or else the universe will be torn apart. Unfortunately, all of Spider-Man's enemies also want the shards, and the power that they possess, meaning that our hero will also have to battle numerous souped-up versions of his most famous foes to achieve his goal. Finally, we get a game worthy of the character, which is mostly because we get a bit of character.
Out the base!
This can be traced to the writer of the game, Dan Slott, who is one of Marvel's writers on Amazing Spider-Man. Obviously, the developers took notice of Paul Dini's work on Arkham Asylum. Actually, I think the developers took a lot of notice of Arkham Asylum, with some of the web-slinging and stealth sections bearing uncanny resemblance. There's also a shade of God of War in there as well. Okay, maybe more of a whole palette. So what I'm saying basically is this game won't win any awards for originality, but what it does do, it does fairly well. The combat is frantic and exciting, with the character's abilities developing quickly throughout the title to enable you to chain massive combos together. The game keeps you aware of challenges that are available to complete that give you more spider essence, enabling you to level up your characters more quickly, adding an extra dimension to the game's levels other than just brawling your way through, and also adds a touch of replay value. Boss fights are varied and interesting, and again, with the God of War influence, some of it may seem familiar, but the addition of Marvel's universe still keeps it interesting. Visually, the game might not stand up to Santa Monica's classic, but it still has some beautiful moments and a lot of variation between the dimensions. Unfortunately, that's where the variation ends, and somewhat disappointingly, the gameplay between the dimensions, in spite of a few extra abilities here and there, is pretty much the same. With the exception of Noir and his stealth takedowns, the game is just a run, swing and brawl affair. Oh alright, 2099 does a bit of free falling, even that does little and lasts a short time. Some of the web slinging can be frustrating, with the game struggling to find the difference between a web swing and a zip line. I think different buttons or a button combination could have prevented this. I also came across some really bad glitches in the game, with sometimes the levels failing to progress, and here Spider-Man doing an impression of Dalsim, before getting held lovingly by Sandman instead of dying. Only quitting out and restarting the level resolved these issues, but luckily the game saves your checkpoints regularly. Hopefully a few updates will eliminate these problems and are perhaps a sign of a fairly green developer. Despite these faults though, I think Beanox deserve a pat on the back. There's clearly a lot of love put into this game, and whilst, like I said earlier, it's not the most original title you'll ever play, it is engaging and funny, if a little frustrating at times. If you're as big a fan as the character as I am, it's a must-have, and a massive improvement over the last attempt. Proof again, if ever it were needed, that movie tie-ins are shite, and that original storylines by writers close to the source material are definitely the way to go.
Just hand over the fragment and no one gets hurt. Admittedly, it'll be less interesting, but that's a small price tag.
Heads or tails?
Although FIFA 11 has now been released, I'm sure that people are still staying brand loyal and stubbornly waiting for Konami's latest effort. So I thought I'd take a look at the recent demos head to head, especially since neither EA or Konami sent us a review copy of the game. Woe is me. So could PES take back its throne of top football game? Well, on this evidence I'd have to say no. FIFA has been for a couple of years now a superior, more enjoyable simulation of the game of football, and along with its full license, excellent online play and full use of the analog controls, only the interface and slightly quirky crossing and heading could really be put at fault, and we saw that fixed in the World Cup release earlier in the year. Mercifully though, EA appear to have fixed the interface too, with menus now being quick to navigate, allowing the player to be more inclined to play with their tactics before a match, a la PES. The gameplay has been tweaked, with the pace feeling quicker, the controls more responsive, and the keeping and gaining of possession more of a battle. So what about PES then? Well, it is an improvement on last year's effort, one that some people considered a disaster, but it just seems incapable of getting anywhere near FIFA. They would have thought that by now PES would have embraced all 360 degrees of the analog stick, but instead still feels stuck in the past with its 16-way controls. The referee still doesn't know the difference between a good and a bad tackle, and seems less inclined to play advantage, creating a stop-start experience. The replays are longer and more varied than FIFA's, with a nice depthy human feeling camera. No commentaries present on the PES demo, but I usually turn that off on both anyway. and as yet there is no chance to try out the online, which is something EA Sports mastered a couple of years ago. So this is just based on the demos. There is still time for things to change and improve, and on this evidence, PES does feel closer to the game we all know and love from a few years ago. But that's the problem. Where FIFA has gone from strength to strength, PES has stood still. FIFA is such a polished, satisfying football experience, it's hard to see where they could improve it next year, without things like the gimmicky looking be a goalkeeper mode. Maybe they could stop putting a load of overpaid, overhyped individuals on the front cover and emphasise the importance of team play instead of convincing impressionable youths that football is all about outstanding individuals. Fuck me, did I just sound a bit like Mick McCarthy?
Tackle, stopping the wide man getting into a dangerous area. It's a great opportunity, he's made himself, the left flank, put it away.
Nights in white satin, never reaching the end.
Well, that's it for GamingGents.com. Hopefully you've not hated every minute of our series. I presume if you're still watching it, then probably not. In the meantime, if you would like to let us know what you think, good or bad, then you can get in touch with us via email at neiljones@gaminggents.com. If you feel you can't live without us, then you can get one-off reviews at the website, with updates available by following us on Twitter. It's been an honour and a pleasure, and I'll leave you with more Deus Ex and a heartfelt huzzah!
Gazing at people, some hand in hand. Just what I'm going through, they can understand. Some try to tell me thoughts they cannot defend. Just what you want to be, you will be in the end. And I love